And you might want to, if you are on speaker mode where you see just me, you might want to put it on gallery so you can see the people that are just starting to gather here. And you can be kind of checking the also the chat as you see people logging in and signing in. Right. I think this is probably about us. Welcome everybody. Now I've been, I always, a few days before a meeting, I try to settle on what the topic might be for the day. And I've been thinking a lot about community lately. And this is a major, maybe in fact, the major focus of Palouse Mindfulness these past few years, ever since the pandemic. Even before then with the Facebook groups, but the Facebook groups aren't live. And I really consider the heart of this meeting to be the breakout groups, because that's where you can meet with other students and graduates, and we're from all over the country and the world. And you know, when I used to do in-person workshops, it was always the times we broke into small groups that was most inspiring and uplifting for me. And I look out and see and feel the liveliness and personal sharing that goes on. In the past few years, we've been working on, because it's not just me anymore, to bring that kind of interaction into the online Palouse Mindfulness course. And that's really a big part of what we're doing here with these monthly meetings and the 10 weekly drop-in meetings that are now available for students and for graduates. Another thing we changed in this since the pandemic is open this up not just to graduates, but to students as well. So the group is a mix, and we've discovered really that works. It works really well. Graduates like having new students in there, and new students, of course, like having some graduates in there. It's about it. I never did ask for a poll. Maybe I'll just do that right now. So first, I want to see if you can hear me. If you can hear me, just raise your physical hand, so I can see your hand go up. That also tells me how many people are paying attention right now. And I'm curious now, how many of you are graduates of the Palouse Mindfulness course? You've completed the course. Just give me a show of hands. Great, thanks. And how many of you haven't yet graduated formally from the course, but you are a student or have been a student? Okay, so a little bit more graduates than students, but a good mix. And that's really, it's nice that we can do that and have that kind of mixture happening. And these meetings have really brought a dimension to this work that was missing previously. And it's just enormously satisfying to me to see how it's taking shape here. Moira Novak, who you can see on the, if you're looking at the gallery, is here today. She's waving at you now. And many of you know her from correspondence through email, because she's been doing a lot of that. And she's also largely responsible for this idea of creating and coordinating our weekly group meetings. And since January, I went and looked through the database we keep of how many people participate in those weekly group Zoom meetings and the monthly ones. And we've had about 250 meetings just in the last 10 months this year, and with nearly 1,000 different students and graduate participants. Excuse me. Sorry. And for me, this is where the magic is. And you know, when I say that, I'm reminded of a really wonderful book. It's called Here is Real Magic. It's written by Nate Staniforth, who is in fact himself a professional magician. It's a wonderful book. It's a fun read. And then he describes a sense of awe and wonder that's created by magic. And that's what drew him to be a magician. But he also describes in the book how he got burnt out after doing constant traveling shows and lost the sense of magic in himself, and how he took a sabbatical to kind of regain that and find some inspiration and renewal. So he decided he was going to go to India because it turns out that the longest tradition of magicians is really in India. They've been doing magic in India for thousands of years, and the street magicians. And he went back to India to try to rekindle that sense of magic and awe, and from this long tradition of magic in India. And what he discovered there is he met some wonderful magicians there, but what he discovered there was a sense of something he didn't expect, and that was the greatest gift he received was the sense of community he felt in the presence of the people of India. The book's really about humanity and what he calls the real magic that's possible when we see ourselves and others with fresh eyes. There's a Sufi saying, it goes, you think you understand one and you think you understand two because one and one make two, but you must also understand and. I'll say that again. The saying is, you think you understand one and you think you understand two because one and one make two, but you must also understand and. And it's the end that this meeting and weekly meetings are about. Last night, I was going through some of the videos that we've used for these meetings and for the course, and I put together two of my favorite video clips, one from Jack Cornfield and the other from Tara Brach. And I want to share that with you because it has to do with community and belonging. So I'm going to set up the sharing to do that. And optimize for video clip. It's always a good idea.
Now, it's also true that in finding sanctuary and refuge and returning home, that while we need to do it in our own unique way, we need one another. It's a kind of funny thing. Again, like remembering your Buddha nature and your zip code, there's a certain way in which you need to face your aloneness and despair all by yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. And at the same time, we need each other desperately. And we can't completely do it alone. Isn't that also true? What story to read? Oh, this one, just because it's fun, even though I read it recently. From Fran Peavy, activist and friend. One day I was walking through the Stanford University campus with a friend and saw a crowd of people with cameras and video equipment on a little hillside. They were clustered around a pair of chimpanzees, the male running loose and the female on a chain about 25 feet long. It turned out the male was from Marine World Africa and the female was being studied for something or other at Stanford, and who I thought were the spectators were actually scientists and publicity people trying to get them to mate. The male was eager, you know how that goes. He grunted and grabbed the female's chain and tugged. She whimpered and backed away. He pulled again. She pulled back. Watching the chimps' faces, I began to feel sympathy for the female. Suddenly the female chimp yanked her chain out of the male's grasp, and to my amazement, she walked through the crowd straight over to me and took my hand. Then she led me across the circle to the only other two women in the crowd, and she joined hands with us. And the three of us stood together in a circle. I remember the feeling of that rough palm against mine. The little chimp had recognized us and reached out across all the years of evolution to form her own women's support group. So there is the finding of sanctuary, and at the same time there's also the sanctuary that we offer to one another. My friend Annie Lamott puts it this way. She says, "My mind is like a bad neighborhood. I try not to go there alone."
The third refuge, refuge in Sangha, is refuge in loving relationship. And the outer ways of taking refuge are engaging in conscious relationship, whether it's with our friends, with our family, with our partners, and also in formal places like we could be with 12-step groups. Our refuge in Sangha could be in the Buddhist communities. We have spiritual friends groups. They're called Kalyana Mitta groups. We have in Washington probably 30-some of these groups where people meet once every other week and they'll do a meditation and then really explore what's happening in our lives. And it's in that field of relationship that the magic happens. Because the gift of refuge in Sangha, in relationship, is we wake up out of that sense of an isolated, separate self and realize this field of presence that we belong to. So one of the big misunderstandings on the path is kind of that we're a self waking up, that we're doing it in our own little cave. And again, at this retreat that we just came from, I could see how we all arrived and we had come from a little bit of a busy, frenzied world. We were a little bit more in that trance of a separate self trying to get somewhere. And so when we were sitting in the hall initially, there was more of that sense of tightness. There was more of that sense of just separation. And then by the end of the retreat, after a number of days of coming back home into the senses and being in, some small groups where we have very conscious kind of connecting and sharing of what's going on, the heart space, the feeling of the field was palpable. Refuge in loving relatedness means very consciously engaging with each other. Our brains evolve in our relationship with caregivers. We cannot become a mature person if there's not some field of relationship that's going on. We're influencing each other all the time. So to realize the truth of who we are means really to be engaged with each other. And the challenge is we're so conditioned to feel separate. And when we feel separate, we think something's wrong with us. And they go together.
And I hope everybody was able to hear that this time. Raise your hand, let me know. Good, perfect. So this clip and also the reference to the book I just mentioned, you can find that in a webpage I created called Zoom Notes, and you'll see that in the chat. So if you take note of that link, that'll have the video for future reference and the book that I mentioned. It also has the notes about the breakout groups we'll be doing. But next we'll do a meditation, and this will have the same form as the other monthly meetings we've been having. We'll do a 15-20-minute meditation now, and then after that we'll do a 30-minute breakout groups of 3 or 4 or 5 people, and then come back for sharing and Q&A, and we'll end it at 9 minutes after we began, half past the hour. So we'll just go into a meditation now, and you can just make yourself comfortable, however it is you are most comfortable in sitting or whatever posture you might have right now. And just taking a moment to check in. Just check in to see how it is to be here right now, noticing your connection with the support that you have, with the floor or the cushion or the chair. Actual physical sensations. Your body letting you know that it's there, actually sensing into how your feet are making contact with the floor, sensations of contact or warmth or coolness, how your arms are resting at your sides or in your lap. Feeling the contact and the support we have with what's supporting us right now. And when you're ready, paying attention to breath. Wherever it is that's most vivid for you, there's no right or wrong place to pay attention to breath. It's wherever you can sense it. So your body is letting you know when it's breathing. You're not working so hard to control it because you don't need to. Feeling each breath as it comes in, as it goes out. And your mind may wander to something else, or and analyze something or thinking about something else. And that's fine. That's part of the meditation too. But we're bringing ourselves back to the sensations of breathing, which are a connection to our body, our connection to our inner world in a way. Noticing how you can just let the breath be the breath. You don't need to change it or modify it in any way. This is not an exercise in manipulating your breath to cause some sort of state. It's noticing just how it is on its own right now. And when you're ready, you might see if you can recall a time in your life when you felt like you belonged, when you're part of something bigger than yourself. Could have been a sports team or a shared cause or a family event or work, or being part of an orchestra or a choir, or just being alone in nature. And it could be some time that's recent or some time ago, time when you felt accepted exactly as you are and felt that way about the others in your group if you're with other people. And of all the kinds of memories that might come up now, see if you can just find one time when you were in a group where you felt like you were belonging to something bigger than just yourself. Recalling where you were, when this was, who was there with you, if there are other people with you. And there may be other times in your life where you can recall a time like this. Or if you're not thinking of a specific time, you know the general feeling of feeling part of something, or how that would feel if you're part of something bigger than you were. You're totally accepted just exactly as you are. And you might consider all the ways that you belong, all the various groups you belong to, all the ways you're part of something bigger. Your friends, family, work groups, your community, your country, the other human beings and animals in this world and plants. The next part of the meditation will be in silence, about 8 or 9 minutes of silence, and you can continue on with this theme or have it be a breath meditation or whatever type of meditation you want it to be. It's your time. We'll end the meditation with a bell.